Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisroel. May God protect our brave soldiers, and may God return all the hostages from Gaza immediately. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Edward Ben Efraim, Shlomo Ben Edward, and Yirachmiel Daniel Ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Devarim as we begin the fifth book of the Torah, Sefer Devarim. Before I begin, I would like to mention that this Shabbos is a unique Shabbos with a special name, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, the Shabbos before we fast for the destruction of both temples, called Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos of vision. We read a special Haftorah after the Torah reading, beginning with the words Chazon Yeshayahu, the vision of Yeshayahu. Yeshayahu is a prophet who prophesied both the punishment for rebelling against God, but also the ultimate redemption with the coming Moshiach, and may it be speedily in our days. Our Parsha begins the last book of the Torah, Sefer Devarim. With just 37 days left to live, Moshe Rabbeinu gathers his nation for his final address. He rebukes them for their past misdeeds and lack of trust in God. He expresses the burden of leadership and how he mitigated it by appointing leaders over each tribe. He recounts how the spies frightened the Jewish nation by reporting that the land was bad and the drastic consequences that stem from it. He describes their journey throughout the desert and their wars with the nations of Heshbon, Bashan, and Amor. However, a question comes to mind. When Moshe Rabbeinu recounts the war with the nations of Heshbon, Amor, and Bashan, he adds a unique detail. Moshe states how Sichon, the king of Heshbon, did not allow the Jewish people to pass through his land, and consequently God hardened his heart like he did for Parai and caused Sichon to go to battle with the Jewish nation. The pasuk writes, "Vayimer Hashem Elai Re'eh Hischalti, I have begun by placing Sichon and his land before you. Hichel Rosh Lereshes Es Haaretz, go and begin the invasion and conquer and inherit his land." But why does Moshe Rabbeinu state, "I have begun"? Hischalti and Chal, and to begin twice in one verse, in one pasuk. What are these words implying about the wars with Sichon, the king of Heshbon? Rashi, Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, the leading Torah commentary, gives an interesting explanation. He explains the added words homiletically according to the Medrash, that God began by removing the nation's guardian angel from his presence. According to the Medrash, God threw these angels out of his most holy throne room and threw them to beneath the feet of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rashi writes that this indicated to Moshe Rabbeinu that these nations were weak and unconquerable in battle. Accordingly, the word began implies that even before a single soldier was assembled, Heshbon, Bashan, and Amor already lost the war. They had the opportunity to allow the Jewish people to pass through their land or just ignore them. But they chose to fight, and so God began by removing their guardian angel to prepare them for their overwhelming defeat in battle. However, the Orach HaMakadosh Rav Chaim Ben Attar, a Moroccan commentary and Kabbalist, gives a deeper and more profound explanation. He quotes the Medrash Sifri that God began when he swore to our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov Avinu, that their descendants would inherit the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. No people, no nation or army would stand in the way of God fulfilling his promise to our forefathers, to us. The Orach Chaim explains that God began by promising Avram and continued to begin by hardening the spirit of Sichon, the king of Heshbon. God simplified and expedited Sichon's choice to go to war rather than to allow the Jewish people to pass through his land. And therefore God instructed Moshe to see how he has given them the land, and now they must take possession of it. As the pasuk states, "And God has said to me, see that I have begun by placing the land, by placing Sichon and his lands before you. Begin the invasion and take his lands." The Orach HaMakadosh adds that all the psukim in chapter 2 of Devarim describe how God set the stage for the Jewish nation's success. Their army was merely symbolic, as the wars were hardly fought because God was fighting for them. When the Jewish people were on the right path with a godly spirit, they are unstoppable. No nation or army can stand in the way and prevent us from building a home for God in our physical world. As this parsha concludes, Lo tira'um ki Hashem Elokechem hu hanilcham lachem. Do not fear them, for it is the Lord your God who is fighting for you. The Yirachmiel Daniel's profound lesson is ever more relevant as we prepare for the saddest day of the Jewish calendar, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, a day that will live in infamy and sorrow until the ultimate redemption will take place, B'Sat Hashem, speedily. One of the reasons for the destruction of the Beis Mikdash was idol worship and serving other deities. In fact, many of the horrific tragedies in our history stem from us veering off God's path when the Jewish people choose the Torah way of life. Despite the ever-changing values of those around us, God fights our battles for us. He clarifies the direction we must take that leads us to the ultimate redemption. In our daily life, it is imperative that we realize that every action we take, spiritual or physical, has the ultimate significance. Our future is not entirely written. There is no fate we cannot change. There's no prediction we cannot defy because we control our destiny. We can lead ourselves towards success through our choices, willpower, and determination. We are created in the image of God, meaning we have free choice. We can choose to stay stagnant in our lives or learn from past experiences and change, grow, and reach our full potential. We can change history, but only if we choose to do it. There's a profound quote by Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory. I believe the challenge issued by the angel is still echoing today. Are we Yaakov? Are we Jacob, embarrassed by who we are? Or are we Yisroel, Israel, with the courage to stand upright and walk tall in the path of God? Have a great weekend. Have a good Shabbos and a meaningful Tisha B'Av with the coming of Moshiach. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.